Good morning. So growing up, my sister was always the saver. I spent everything from the jump. That's annoying. And that never really changed, And I had some mentors tell me at my very first sales job. They were like, Ben, there's two kinds of millions out there. There's your first million, where you spend all of it, and then there's your second million, where you actually figure out how to keep it. And I was like, okay, that makes sense, but that's not going to happen to me because you guys are warning me about it. So obviously I'm going to know. Now, I have not made my first million yet, technically. I mean, maybe I've made an aggregate total of $1 million. I don't know. I wouldn't call myself a millionaire, though. However, last month I made $17,000 for the month. And that was with online coaching. So it's what I wanted. I was working for myself. I loved it. However, I did not keep a dime, basically. And I mean, I spent it on good things that made me feel good, right? Like mentorships, and like it wasn't a waste, but I didn't keep any of it. And I realized like 98% of America does this, where like you make some money and then you spend it until it's gone. And then you make some more money and you spend that. And so I'm like, I got to figure out how to get out of this loop if I'm going to be building like generational wealth, or if I'm going to be providing for a family even. Like, I can't be living paycheck to paycheck. I got to have some sort of buffer, right? Especially when you're out here working for yourself. Like, you need to have that buffer because you don't have any security. You don't have any reliability that you can rely on. Now, I'm currently driving in my brother's PT Cruiser. And the reason that I say that is because I had to sell my car. I had some unexpected expenses come up. I got the opportunity to live in a discipleship house with my church. And so that meant that I had to get out of the lease that I was currently in Scottsdale. Well, they charged me about $5,000 to get out of this lease. And I'm always the kind of person to just be like, yeah, just take my money. Like, yeah, just ring it up. Like, the Lord will provide. It'll be fine. Well, it wasn't fine. I mean, it was fine. I should say, it was fine. It worked out, but I had to sell my car. And luckily my brother, this is what I mean by the Lord provides, right? Like, he provides, but he also teaches us things. So like, luckily my brother got a job in Alaska working for my dad for a month. And so, why is this guy tailgating me so hard? And so he's going to be in Alaska for a month. So I get to drive his vehicle. So this PT Cruiser is a freaking blessing. But I had to sell my Lexus so I could get out of my rent. And dude, that hurt. But I've been listening to so much Dave Ramsey lately. And it's funny because I've trashed on Dave Ramsey for so long, because I always thought like Dave Ramsey just told people to put their money in a box. Like, don't invest in anything. Put all your money in a box. Don't take out loans, which, I mean, he does say, like, don't take out loans. Now, the reason he says that is to change the behavior. Because money is a psychological issue. It's not a mathematical issue. And so if we're going to change our behavior, we got to change what we're doing, right? And I constantly was in this cycle of like, okay, if I have money, then I'll spend it. And so that's why I realized everybody loses their first million, is because if you can't steward a little, you're not going to be able to steward a lot, right? The way that I spent the 17 grand that I made that month was the same exact way that I spent the $350 that I made my second month health coaching, right? Meaning I wasn't paying attention to what I was buying. So what do we do now? I wrote down every single expense that I have for the month. They're like, oh, wow, this guy budgeted. This guy learned how to budget. Well, yeah, I mean, basically. Basically. But it was out of necessity, right? Because, like, I'm like, something's not working. I got to figure out something that is going to work, right? So I wrote down everything. $5,500 is what my monthly expenses are. As a single man who lives by himself, they should not be that high, right? Now, a lot of that was like I had an agency that I was paying to get a setter, so like some or even ads. With ads though, I didn't even include ads in that. This was just like my necessities to live, kind of to live and like not tank my credit, right? To make the payments I had to make, $5,500. So I cut everything. Now, the minimum that I got to make is about $1,700 a month. And let me tell you, dude, even though I'm driving around in the PT Cruiser, I'm happy, bro. Like, to not have that much on my plate. And I realize, like, so many people get caught in this trap of, like, showing others, especially in the online coaching space, of, like, this is my social proof. And I want to take the exact opposite approach. So I'm driving in my brother's PT Cruiser. I'm telling you, I made a decent amount of money and I spent it all. And I'm doing that, one, so I can look back on this and be like, I've come a long way. But two, so I can help the people that are where I was, 6 months ago. If somebody would have told me like, hey, dude, like, you need to have a plan for every dollar that enters your bank account, maybe I would have done something about it. I don't know. It's a lot of times you have to have the realization on your own. That guy's heading to the gym on a scooter. It's like 35 degrees heading to the gym on a scooter. It's not even 6 a.m. yet. Good for him. If somebody would have told me, like, you got to have a plan for every single dollar that enters your bank account, and I would have done that, I would have realized how much I was over leveraging myself. It's the same thing that I did with trading. I had thousands and thousands of dollars on margin. I was like 90% margin, meaning like 90% of the money that I was trading stocks with was someone else's money. And so all it took was me to go 10% less than what I had borrowed, and now they have what's called a margin call, and you have to pay all the money back, probably with interest too. And so it's how a lot of people actually go bankrupt. And so the same thing happened. I didn't go bankrupt, but I realized, oh shoot, if this drops 2% more, I'm screwed. Like, I didn't even know what margin trading was, but I was like, oh, money, other people's money. Like, yeah, I'll take it. So all that to say, I've learned now that I need to know exactly where every single dollar is going. And when I see something that I want to buy, or when I see something that I want to invest in, I need to put money aside every month. And this is what I have been doing, putting money aside of like, okay, it's going to take me this long to save up for this thing, but that's worth it because it's changing my practice. It's changing my mentality. It's changing my perception around money. So thank you very much for watching. If you want to become an online coach of any sort, typically coach health coaches on how to start a health coaching business. The beautiful thing is this business model works for anybody. So you can just shoot me a message on Instagram at Ben Bjornstad, BenBjornstad. Tell me you came from this video, and I'm going to send you a private deep dive on exactly how to get started for free. I'm going to go get a quad pump. Have a beautiful Tuesday.